Magnus Division here. Today's video is how much would be the maximum casualties if the U.S. did an all-out strike on Russia. Before we get to that, please like and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell and you'll get notifications when new video content gets uploaded. I'm also currently doing a giveaway, and so for all my subscribers, leave a comment on any videos from now until July 4th. You'll be entered into a drawing to win a free copy on Steam of the Nuclear War Simulator. And if you already possess a copy of that, I'll give you a free game up to a like value. So with that said, on this simulation we're running today, it's part of a series. So I did the same for a Russian all-out strike on the United States, and I did the same for a all-out U.S. strike on China and an all-out Chinese strike on the United States. So now I have the U.S. doing an all-out strike on Russia. One of the things I always start with is to set some parameters. Every one of these parameters were set the same. A, this is simply one country against another, no involvement from any outside parties. 2, no missile defense systems. So the parameters we're going to run on is that they simply fail or do not work or do not intercept in time. So the other part of it is that when you press the button, everything works. So I'm not modeling in any percentage of failures. This is absolute worst case scenario if one country is trying to cause the maximum civilian casualties against another country. So having said that, I always start with the same kind of setting or standard, and that is I'll take a look at the nuclear order of battle, the most recent nuclear order of battle that I can find. And so in the nuclear war simulation, there are, you can load a base number of units. They're fairly off from what current estimates are. One thing is they probably are doing complete stockpiles versus what's actually deployed right now. So, and this is some stuff as I kind of working through it that I've kind of gotten better and better about capturing and editing this stuff. So I use this one, and the base assumptions here is that there's 1,370 deployed warheads, 400 on ICBMs, 970 on sub-launch ballistic missiles, and 300 strategic heavy bombs. So that's what we're going off of, and this is from the Federation Atomic Bulletin. So take a look at the attack plan. I went ahead and I manually set all of these. So you see plan A, and you can see these are the ICBM targets. I did forward deploy the subs. This isn't meant to be like some realistic deployment, so much so as I just put it as close to Russia as possible to make it easier to do. And also forward deploy the strategic bombers. So you can see there, got a massive amount of targeting. Like I said, I 1,370 warheads. It was a arduous task, and you can see here as I zoom in, the actual targets as laid out. Moscow. Quite a lot. So how did I determine how many warheads to put in these different locations? I'm glad you asked. So, first thing I started with was, pull it over here. I broke down the stockpile. So, yield size, number of warheads, and number of platforms for sub-launch ballistic missiles for the ICBMs and the airs. This is not meant to be the number of strategic bombers, by the way. I kind of changed. Suffice to say that the numbers are right. That would be the total warhead count. So sub-launch ballistic missiles split between 90 kiloton and 455 kiloton. ICBMs 300 kiloton and 335 kiloton. For the air, we have 168. Those are the air-launched cruise missiles on the B-52s. The B-2 Spirit bombers have a mix of 400 kiloton, 1.2 megaton, and 360 kiloton. That would be the B-83 gravity bombs. All total, 426 megatons, or 426,000 kilotons. an impressive amount of warheads. So, did some things here. So first I took the list of Russian cities and their population and the percentage of the population and started doing a percentage of yield. So come out for Moscow would have 106 megatons, 42 megatons for St. Petersburg, 21 megatons, 21, 21, 17, etc., etc. It gets down here, and again, there's a certain excess number that just got spread out, but that was some of the base assumptions. So, I broke down each location. For instance, St. Petersburg will get 400 sub-launch ballistic missiles, the 90 kiloton ones, for 36 megatons. It would also get 10 of the 400 kiloton gravity bombs for 4,000 kilotons, or 4 megatons. 2 of the 1,200 kiloton B-83s, etc. Total 42.4 megatons. Moscow, here you see the breakdown, so it's getting 224 of the 455 kiloton warheads and 4 of the 1,200. And that was kind of the base and worked out from there. So you can kind of see here how the targeting. Now Russia's fairly unique. Here, I'll say the same thing. Russia, China, and the United States are all fairly different geographical layouts. If you were to look at China, it has such a huge concentration of its population densely packed here. So fallout would have a greater impact here. And then there's nothing, and a little bit up here, but nothing through that range. Russia has a few key big cities, and it's fairly spread out. More so than the United States. So the United States is spread out, but it still has large clusters of cities across the country, except for some thing here and some gaps, but still fairly large clusters. And then Russia, like I said, you can see the equivalency outside of a few big ones. It gets sparse. So, but didn't stop me. So, there you go. See some targeting there. And a lot of different places got some love. So, a lot of warheads to go around. These are mixes of surface burst and air burst. One of the things I feel like kind of a mistake I did early on, like when I did the Russia against the United States and also United States against China, I was doing simply air burst. And I've started doing more of a mix of surface and air. Generally speaking, the air bursts are going to cause more casualties. What I've tested out, surface burst will cause a greater amount of fallout. And so certain areas are probably going to have, it's more advantageous to include more surface burst and air burst. So it just really depends on the circumstances, but these were a mix. And I'd say it's a mix of probably 30% surface and 70% air. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and hit the button. Like always, it starts on September 7th, 2024. All four of these scenarios, or all three of the other scenarios, all start at that time too. If there happens to be a nuclear exchange, and it has to happen, I hope it happens on September 7th. Because then, boom, talk about, hey, this guy predicted it. May not be alive to enjoy it, but at least the cockroaches will have something to talk about. So let's go. Doing 10 times speed. I will end up speeding it up, especially when the bombers come in because they take quite a bit of time. But so we see the ICBMs already are launching at 2 of the locations. This one's now starting to launch. The sub-launch missiles will start launching as well. They're going to be closer, so they're going to hit their targets first. But usually ICBMs launch first, then the sub-launch ballistic missiles, and then the bombers. Well, it'd be if there was mobile ICBMs, those would then be, and then the bombers. The United States does not have any mobile ICBMs, so Russia and China both do, but the United States does not. So we see some of the warheads are starting to break off the rockets now. And some of these will be MIRVs, so you'll start to see multiple warheads breaking out. And for those that have a copy of the Nuclear War Simulator, I will be doing a video on some tips and tricks I've learned. If you ever watch my videos from a year ago to compare them to now, I would say there's a tremendous improvement in my understanding of how this works, and also modeling the nuclear forces better. Like I said, this is pretty cool that you can default into some of the forces, but there's definitely some accuracy issues. In the case of the United States, it deploys well more than what actually we have deployed. Now, if there's an extended buildup where we start deploying stuff that we have stockpiled that aren't deployed, then you may see those increased numbers. But this represents more of a bolt out of the blue attack. See stuff starting to strike. Let's take a little look out. We still got all the ICBMs coming in. Now, the majority of our warheads are on our subs. So there's approximately twice the number of warheads compared to ICBMs. Our ICBMs are not MIRVs, so they're all single warheaded. Best that we know. So let me add that in there. Before I get any of those actually, folks. Which I'm fine, if there's a mistake made, I'm all for people. Leave me a comment, let me know. Unfortunately, some of the comments are just what I consider based out of ignorance. Everybody would die, or this or that, and okay, we'll start citing some sources on that. Or something, what about China or North Korea? Well, not every simulation is going to have different scenarios, different parameters. I've done some where they're involved, or they're solely involved. I've done some where they're not. Look at this. It is an impressive and frightening amount of destructive power. I mean, just looking at the sheer numbers. And that's one thing that still separates the United States and Russia from China. So we have 1,370 approximately deployed warheads. China has about 500. And of course, we could quickly deploy additional air. And this isn't counting any tactical bombers, nuclear bombers. Okay, so I think we've done all the ICBMs and SLBMs. So let me shoot to 100 times speed. Actually, let me. All right. So the air-launched cruise missiles have already went. The Spirit bombers actually have to drop their bombs, so they take a little bit longer. You see that guy still trucking along, dropping some. Come back to Moscow. I didn't exactly put the right as you're dropping them, they would have done them in a proper order, but you have to understand that deploying 1,000 plus warheads, when you do the bombing, the bombing routes aren't meant to be a realistic bombing route, just to make sure they're getting the targets needed. Okay. So right now, we're not quite 24 hours in. So let me take us 24 hours in. Okay. Let's run the casualty calculator. And then what I'll do at the end after this is we'll run it with the AI targeting to see how they compare to my targeting, because that's one of the things and part of the series is testing the AI's built-in targeting system versus my manual targeting. So if you can see this, 85.3 million casualties for Russia. So unfortunately, Ukraine had 40,000, China 16,000, Kazakhstan 3,000. With fallout and stuff, and some of these border strikes, and that's gonna, stuff like that's gonna happen now. Realistically speaking, right now, most of this area is going to be Russian controlled. So this is that area for Ukraine. So not that it matters to the people that live there, but should state that that's currently part of Russia's Russian territory at the moment. And then for China, fairly small. Some of the stuff over here, Far East. And that would depend on the way the wind's blowing to carry the fallout, so that could vary at times, but there we see it. So, what was that? Against a population for Russia of 143 million. So, let me do some quick math here. 85 divided by 1. Approximately 60% of the population is casualties right out of the gate. And that's not going to be any long-term effects, sickness, people dying because of lack of medical care, food, starvation, contaminated water, and mutants going around killing people. So it's not going to factor in any of that. But right there, 60% out of the gate. So Russia would cease to exist as a unified nation. I mean, no doubt about it. Their central government. I mean, you look at where Moscow is. I will say that Moscow does have a fairly robust anti-ballistic missile system where they basically shoot nukes to destroy incoming nukes, taking them out. And nuclear weapons are very effective at destroying nuclear weapons. In theory, because it's never actually happened, but in theory. But again, this is testing absolute worst case scenarios and doesn't factor in, just like I didn't factor in the ground-based interceptors. And U.S. targeting plans account for the fact that that ballistic missile system is in place and would be adjusted accordingly. So, all right. Before we do this, let me reload the scenario here without my targeting, and we'll see how the AI does. Remember, 85 million and some change. See here, there's no attack plans built in. So let's just do the very base, targeting country, 100% of our nuclear force, 100% civilian targets. Let's go. I'm going to go ahead and just shoot it at 100 times. So may upload 2 videos today. So I think I may do one of my little rambling rant videos later while I'm drinking a beer or having a scotch. I think we're having steak tonight. So supposed to be training our legs. That'll be interesting. So there's their targeting. Some more air-launched cruise missiles. They have quite a bit of range. Pretty good weapons. Let me go 24 hours out, like I did for the other one. Okay. Who is going to cause more casualties, AI or myself? I've been undefeated so far. I have to start calling myself the champ. Wait, let's be real, I already do. See my one ramp video, I'm actually have my championship belt strap over my shoulder. But hey, yeah, when you earn it, you earn it. So, champion for 4 years running now. 60.2 million. So, I mean, and actually they caused more casualties against China by quite a large magnitude. So, looks like, again, it's that random thing. But, yeah, so I had approximately 25 million more casualties than the built-in AI targeting. So, I continue to be undefeated in that realm. Let's do percentage of population. Still nothing to scoff at. Basically 42% of the population there. Same statement as before. When you lose, and let's be honest, when you factor in starvation, contaminated water, lack of medical care, all those other things, that percentage is going to be much, much higher. And so, but let's say that 42% is just all in, and that's it. That's almost half your population. That's most of your governments of any of the larger cities. You cease to exist as a country at that point. No country is going to take that amount of casualties and continue to function on a national level. And Russia has a lot of different ethnic divisions. It's a huge space with a lot of different cultural divisions. I mean, you could say the same, in many respects for a lot of countries of any large size. You could even say the same for the United States. The culture in like the southeastern United States is different than, say, California, which would be different than, say, New York. Probably not as vastly different because, A, we're not an extremely old country. Clearly some people in this country been here for many, many years, and some people for not. But any country, I think, that suffers this number of casualties would probably cease to exist. So that's where we're at, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, please like and subscribe. I know, some of you guys, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Click the bell notification. You'll see every time one of my videos come out. I am trying to make video content at least a couple times a week. And again, it's spending a few hours on each of these videos. And so from start to finish. So between deploying units and other stuff. So anybody that comments, likes, all that stuff, it just motivates me to continue. Again, this is not a venture for me to make money or ever to be. This is like somebody commented the other day, it's a very niche content, and it'll always be niche content. But I don't do it because of that. I do it because I like to do it, and the more people I think that kind of get involved and get interested in it, the more motivated I am to put out more videos. Appreciate everybody. Have a great day.